In this video, I'm going to show you both my Bookmap settings and then a live version, a live execution of me using Bookmap and using these exact settings to catch a pretty big trade last night. No hindsight rubbish, it's all executed live and it was me talking through my trade all live. So you'll see that, see what I'm reading in the trade and what I'm using to help confirm my trading. So I use volume profile to determine which levels I look to enter at, and then I use the Bookmap to determine order flow and to see if it's a probable trade to enter or not at the time. So you'll see how I do all that. First of all, we'll show you the Bookmap settings. So that's coming out first in this first clip. And if you want to jump straight to the trade recap and the trade replay, here's the timestamp right there for those of you who don't care about my settings. Naughty boys. Anyway, first up is the settings. So here we are. So here's my Bookmap setup. This is what it looks like. And this is how I use Bookmap. I've got the just what I need on here. A lot of people say Bookmap looks quite overwhelming, and I agree a lot of the time. So I've got things kind of tuned down, got a lot of the noise tuned out. So I've got basically just current price, the volume dots, so I can see the market executions and see how price is actually behaving. And then I've got the liquidity levels, but I've tuned out all the lower levels of liquidity and just looking at the bigger spots in the book. All right, so that's all I'm looking for, and I'm just looking to see how liquidity behaves as we approach these levels. So that's how I've got mine laid out, and I'll run you through all the settings now. So if you go up to the top toolbar here, there's a little symbol that says configure visible components. Click on that, and this is how I have mine done. So I've got volume dots turned on, last price turned on, heat map turned on, and buy sell orders turned on, and that's it. Everything else is unchecked. That's the first step, to have those turned on. Now up here we have contrast, heat map dimming. I've got that set right here about, what's that, 75%, something like that. It's above 75%, and all it does is just makes the contrast not too bright but also not too dim. Nothing major on that one. Obviously got my color set to the blue to orange, just a personal preference, that middle setting there. The next thing is, if you don't have this turned on, have show data tooltip turned on. All that'll do means is when you hover over a volume dot, it shows you the volume executed at each level, which is important for me when I'm looking to spot absorption, things like that. So good to get a bit more accuracy by having that turned on. You can see exactly what's happening at each level. And then the next thing I've got, so if you look up here, you should have two sliders. If you don't have two sliders on here, if you go over to this symbol, studies configuration, click on that. And first of all, look at the heat map. Okay, click on the heat map. And these are my heat map settings. So this is what I mean about tuning out the noise. So I've got the lower cutoff percentage set to just under the 80%. And all that's doing is, watch this, watch as I play with the setting, what's going to happen here. Watch the liquidity on the heat map. If I have that turned down, it's going to be showing me all the liquidity on the book. I want to tune out a lot of that noise and just look at the upper kind of 77 to 80% worth of liquidity. I'm not too interested in the smaller levels, just looking at where the larger lots are resting and how the larger lots are behaving. So lower cutoff percent, got that set right up there, just below 80. Right, and then upper cutoff percent, I've got that set just around 95%. And watch as it changes there. Shows the higher liquidity at different shadings. If you have it down at 80, it's going to mark everything is super high liquidity. You have it at around 95%, then it's going to differentiate between reasonable levels of liquidity, and then the yellow is the larger levels. So that's how I have that set, just around the 95% level. So always have this set as a percentage, in my opinion. It's the best way. So that means no matter what you look at, it's going to give you only the largest levels of liquidity and then cut off most of the noise. All right, so that's my settings for the heat map itself. Click on volume dots over here. Here's my volume dot size. It's just these bubbles here. So I've got the size set just under halfway there, because if by default, I believe they are quite large, and that's just a bit too messy, a bit too noisy in my opinion. So I've got them turned down a bit, and then I can also fine tune and see what's happening at each tick of movement as well. So I've got that just below halfway. Got it set to show me the volume delta, so buy minus sell each volume dot. If it's green, it means there was more buys at that level. If it's red, it means there's more sells at that level. Transparency turned up quite high, so I can see through the dots, so I can see where price is to the tick. And minimal displayed volume is 1. I want to see every single transaction. It's quite important for me. So that's the volume dots and the heat map settings. And you can see I have cumulative delta turned on as well. That's just a personal preference, but that shows up in this little window below. So that's my Bookmap settings for the heat map and the volume dots. And if you look over to the right here, the only column that I have showing is the current order book, which is just a profile look at the DOM. This is just basically what the DOM is without a ladder. It's just a profile version of the DOM. So it's showing how many contracts are at each level of the book there. There's another way to visually reference the DOM alongside the heat map, and I can get a more accurate view just at a glance at how many contracts are sitting at each level. So that's my Bookmap settings. So if you want to pick up Bookmap, that link in the description will give you 20% off, code CAMCAP, CAMCAP on the first month. Make sure you get at least the global plan. That's the middle tier package, and that's the one you're going to need bare minimum to use it the way I do, trading futures with live futures data. So bare minimum, get that global plan. And now the next clip I'm going to put in here is a recording of one of last night's trades. It is an example of me using the Bookmap to confirm a trade, hold a trade confidently through to a target by examining the order flow using Bookmap. So this is a live example from last night's stream. If you want to catch me using it live more often, I do stream every single day, Monday to Friday, 3 a.m. Eastern time for the London Open, and I stream for about 2 hours each session. So check that out. Otherwise, check out this clip coming up next. Spliced up live replay of me talking through a trade last night that ended up holding all the way through to after stream, but I still recorded what happened after stream, and it ended up being a nice, pretty decently sized trade. Just using a couple of contracts on gold. Using volume profile as my entry and the order flow to confirm how long I was to hold that trade and where to get out. So here's the example coming up next. See those offers kind of spaced out just above, pretty heavy, 40 contracts, 40 plus contracts on each of those levels, 440.6, 440.3, 440.9. Just waiting. Normally I would just limit order into this, but we got heavy sell volume just above. Doesn't mean it's not going to bounce, because I'd rather wait to see if there's actually a reaction here, if those sellers mean business or if the buyers are gonna win. A lot of transactions happening here. Big buy executions. Sellers are still sitting there with their large offers, and they popped it. I'll put a 1 in there just to see if it continues back up, but keep my stop loss out a bit. Just a 1 contract to see if it pumps from here. If it doesn't pump from here, I'll wait for a retest, because they cleared out that level there quite easily. I like to see that. There was nice strong volume on the push up. See if they pop this area here. It's still quite heavy on the offer above, hence the only the 1 contract. There we are, we're popping through. That's good. Good sign. Added in just 1 more on that pop. Like I said, it's still like the long trade. 1 more level here to clear, 4 for 1.0. Nice, a bunch pulled. We trade through. Bit of a book flip here, 220 on the bid right here. There's my position. I'm in higher, obviously. Like I said, I wanted to wait to see the reaction first from their volume level before getting in, because there was a lot of people on the sell. A lot. So I needed to see buyers really stand in there with conviction, and they did. Still want to see this rotate to value area high again, back up at 2,444. Trading right above that 200 contracts. See if it's real or not. If it's real, it will support price and will pump higher. If it's a spoof or a fake out, it's going to pull. There we are. It held so far. Got to be careful with these huge orders like that. It can be very, very, very sneaky manipulation. So far holding pretty well. Good reaction. We've just run into a wall of sell liquidity here, right here, and we haven't managed to break it yet. So wait and see if we can pop that at 2,444. It's right at the high of the day. So if we can pop that, I'd say we're good to retest the other side and continue up. Gold's been on a huge bull run overnight, and there was no sense in counter trading that today. So I was very heavily long biased for the day, even for my scalps, only really willing to take the longs, and it's played out pretty well so far. Well worth it. So let's see if we can pop that level out now. Just watching the Bookmap. But yeah, just wanted to highlight this as an example of, although I do scalp and take profit at 10 ticks, plus 10 ticks, I still like to leave a portion of the position on to capture the bigger moves, because oftentimes these volume profile levels are giving a bigger move. It's often the point where price will pivot and continue on a bigger run to the current trend. Or even if there's no trend, often it's a good reversal point as well. So I like to make sure I'm able to capture those bigger moves when possible and accommodate for them, because that way I can benefit from both the scalping method and from the more positional type trades as well. Traded up the level slightly, just a few contracts there. Haven't popped it yet. Sellers haven't yet budged. Just traded a few of them out. Let's see if we can come back on that second attempt at the high. It'll be quite a sudden pop if we trade it. It's going to go through quite quickly, and I imagine we'll see quite a few stop outs as well. People with their stop losses at the high of the days. That should provide a quick fluid movement to the upside. There's the pop now, watching to see what it does right here. I just realized the bloody screen froze on OBS, so I don't know how much of that was missed. I'm gonna have to check in the editing, but yeah, that trade closed off. I pulled the stop loss right up to 444.4. See if I could squeeze through to my full take profit, but yep, took profit there on that drop down after we ran up the highs, and that was a nice $700 trade. So very, very happy with that. Very, very nice trade to end the night. So there you are, and there's the entries. So yep, first couple trades on that first test of the volume area of the POC, and then second test after we confirmed the bullish reaction was then flipped the bears. Yeah, we got that nice run up to value area high. So good trade, perfect trade. Hoping to obviously always squeeze a little bit more out of that to get a full profit target, but very happy. Got that close right off at 444.1, is just below the value area high there. So very, very good. But that's the power of the value areas, the volume profile, literally catching price at pivotal points in time and confirming that with Bookmap and order flow, and take my scalp first of all, and have a play at the positional move as well. So best of both worlds.